So on this channel, I'm always talking about quality. He's always talking about quality. Sync libraries. You've got to have quality to get into sync. Stock libraries like Motion Array especially, you've got to have quality music. You got to compete against AI, so your quality's got to be really high. Even to stand out on Spotify in 2025, you've got to have better quality than the next person. How do you do that? Well, today we're going to not really be talking about sonically or technically or recording-wise type stuff. That's for other channels. And I could talk about that, I guess. But I want to talk about how you really compose and write and start to get some quality things. We will talk about some of the things after you finish the song and how to finish the song. But I see a lot of mistakes that people are making when they send me music. And so today I want to talk about the specific things I think that might help you get better. If you're willing to get better, if you will take the time, and if you really want to. That's the thing. I'll talk about the most simple thing you have to do, and then I'll talk about some specific things you have to do. And these are things I talk about a lot. I repeat myself, but I think you have to repeat yourself a lot for people to get it in their minds. And I'm doing this video specifically because last week I told you if you wanted to do stock music, which if that's what you still really have to do, if that's really important for you to do, then you are going to have to get your quality up and get into these libraries. And a lot of people email me or they send me comments and they go, Eric, I don't know how to get into Motion Array. I've tried, I've failed. How do I get in? And it is about taking the next step in quality wise. And so I dare you, in fact, to listen to this podcast today, because it's not some I'm quit video. The last week's video is very popular because on the front I said I'm quitting. Those always get a lot of people watching it. Any video about how to do sync and how to get in, how to make $600 a month or whatever, those always get a lot of viewers. But how many will want to really improve? Who will watch a video about improving? There are tons of courses out there. We're going to talk about those. There are tons of video channels and teachers and programs out there. It doesn't even need to cost you money necessarily, but I dare you to watch this video and get better. Again, not technical stuff, because there's great channels for that, but just making the music and making good quality music. How do we do that? And maybe this is the start of merging my Hello Composers channel into this one. A lot of people have been asking me that over the years. We need to talk about how to make great music. Music that you love to make. And then how to make music income after you've done that. But inside there's something missing. Make the music you love, but make quality music, and then make music income. You've heard that a lot on this channel, and it's still, all of that is what this channel is all about. And at the end of this video, I will tell you the best way to improve your music, and spoiler alert, it's partner with me. Welcome to the Make Music Income Podcast. My name is Eric Copeland, and I've made a full-time living as a music producer, composer, and arranger for over 25 years. In this podcast, I talk about making music income with music licensing, music production, music streaming, music royalties, being a music composer, arranger, producer, or artist, or really any way that I have in the past or currently now or want to make music income. I have free and paid courses and coaching and ebooks for you at makemusicincome.com/free. Make sure to like this podcast if you enjoy the content, because it really helps, and subscribe if you're just finding the podcast or channel and want to be part of things every week. I hope all this content helps you make the music you love to make and make music income. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining the podcast today. I will warn you right now, this podcast, The podcast you're about to listen to now is not scripted in any way. Usually I will put together a script. I did for the opening, but I basically about an hour and a half ago decided to do this video at all. It's something I had written down to do, especially after last week, because I tell you, oh, you've got to have quality to get into Motion Array. And you're like, what does that mean? How do I get that quality? How do I write better songs? What are some simple things I can do to start writing better songs? And of course, the best way is going to be what I talk about and who today's video is sponsored by and what every video is basically sponsored by. This channel doesn't exist to sell courses. This channel doesn't exist to sell ebooks or do affiliate sales or any of the other goofball things that YouTube channels do. This channel is really for finding new partners for me to work with and finding new people who are interested in getting music into libraries and getting music into sync in different ways. Libraries aren't the only way that we can get things in, but it's the main way. We are putting out album after album, and this week we put out 2 new albums to a new library, and we are continuing to work on 2 more that are already signed and just need to finish. I'll be mixing as soon as I get done with this today. I was mixing this morning. I'll be mixing tomorrow. I was mixing yesterday. I mix a lot and I make a lot of music, and I also got to compose some music yesterday and this weekend. And so I just want to talk about that, and this is what I do with my partners, and we'll talk more at the end of this video about how all the things I talk about today can be kind of amplified by this program right here. And you can see the link here, and the link is right below in the description. So without further ado, let's jump right in. And the very first thing that you have to do, and I've said this before, and I have a very famous video that did very well as like a shorter video called "You're Not Making Any Music." And this is kind of a hot button / hot take that I have gone over before. And one of the reasons you're not improving your music is because you're not making any new music. And I know that might seem crazy, but I know there are some of you who are listening to this right now or will be listening to this in the future, and you go, yeah, that's me. I'm not doing it. I haven't gotten back to that album I was working on or that song I was working on, or I haven't sat down in front of the computer or the piano or the guitar or anything and made any new music. It's on me. It's all me. And I get that way too. There are times I haven't played my piano out there for a few weeks or at least a week, and I feel really guilty because sitting down to the piano is different than working in here. Working in here, none of these keyboards that I have, both of these and the drum machine that I have back here, it doesn't make any noise by itself. It only makes noise when I hook it into this computer. Sitting down in front of the piano is different because I create with my hands on an instrument. So any kind of making music is helpful in this. And give me a thumbs up or give me a comment or something in the chat or in the comments below if you feel like this is one of the things you struggle with, because I know it is, because it is for me, and I do this full time. And some of you who do this part time and are looking to go full time, you want to go full time in music, you want to make music income, and you want music income to be something that gets to the point where it is with me, where all of my income is from music things. There's not a thing I do, there's not an income that I get anymore that has anything to do with anything but music. So some of you would love to do that. It's an adventure, I will tell you that. But making the music is, in fact, sometimes a difficult thing to do. Making yourself sit down and get to work, finding that hour, that few minutes every day where you can make music is harder than you think it is. It's something that you really have to train yourself to do. I have finally, after working for a couple of years teaching, I screwed my schedule up. And it screwed my sleep schedule up, which screwed up the mornings that I had. And so now I have I feel like I've gotten back into the flow a little bit. I got my sleep schedule back going. I'm up at 7 every day. I'm ready to go. I am getting tons done by noon. Even before this video today, I have about 6 or 7 things checked off my checklist that I wanted to do. Things are moving, but you heard that word, checklist. I have to have a checklist every day to do the things. And I have to plan that time. Now, for me, that time is all day, right? For me, that time is from the minute I get up till 6 o'clock, unless I'm going to go somewhere during the middle of the day for a break or go work out. I am here. I am here working at my desk in my workshop. And if you're not in your workshop making music, then you can't improve. A lot of the players that I work with in Nashville, they are so good because they play every day with other people who play every day with each other, and they've gotten better, and they've done it for decades. Okay? They've gotten better every day because they keep doing the thing, and they do the thing over and over and over. And so I think it's important that we kind of keep that on our minds, that we've got to make the music and we've got to really work hard to do this. Make music is, I think, the most important one. Let's move on to what I think is the second most important thing. And that is, I think you have to specialize. This was the best word I could think of. It's not the exact word, maybe, but I think you have to focus on a style and a genre, or styles/genres. Now, I focus on a lot of styles and genres because I've been a music producer for other artists for a long time. So I'm not a good example of this because I will do everything for everyone, and you should see all the 20 albums that we have going on. They range, every one of them is a different genre. But if you're having any kind of issue improving your music, it might be because you have too many ideas. There are too many things going on, and too many, I could do reggaeton, and I could do hip hop, and I could even do country music. I could do classical. Well, I do all those things personally, but that's because I'm a producer and a composer. And so I've been used to composing all styles. And you might be able to compose a lot and produce a lot of styles too. But to get things done, to get music quality up, you've got to focus on one or two of the genres that you are really good at. And again, if you want to get stuff into sync, if you want to convince a library to work with you, they need to know that you can do a thing. I don't think even my first deal with BMG was not a deal where I got in because I could do 1,000 styles. I got in because it was pop music. It was pop music with vocals, and it was 10 or 11 songs of it. And they said, okay, I can see that he can do an album of this type of music, and we need that type of music. So I think you really have to specialize in a genre. You have to decide what that genre is going to be. And so if you're having trouble getting better at your music, it might be that you're just dabbling all over the place. Just dabble. You're a dabbler. You're dabbling all over the place. You're doing a little stuff here. You're doing a little stuff there. And you know who you are. All these things I'm going to talk about today are all things that I had to learn to do. I had to quit dabbling and specialize in what I was going to do. And until I got into that specialization of either being a composer or producer or whatever I was at the time of my life, I didn't have success because I kept just making a little loop or something on Logic, and then I'd go on to the next one and I'd have another one. Rarely did I sit down and write a whole composition from beginning to end and map it out and make careful plans for its sections and its beginning and its ending. Rarely did I do that. I would start something with a cool loop. And I think we are loop starters in lots of different genres because you have software that lets you import loops from all kinds of genres. And so you can start with this classical loop, and then you put a beat behind it. You say, oh, this is cool. And then you kind of dabble with that. And then the next day or the next week, you pull in another loop, and it's more hip hop. And so you kind of go down that road, or you kind of put a folk thing together. And then I just see this as one of the things that most people just don't do. I get tons of people and they say, I don't know why I'm not having success. I don't know why I'm not moving forward. And when I listen to their music, it's just all over the place. There's songs over here, songs over there, songs over here, and none are finished and none are really quality. Nothing goes together. So if I ask them for an album to put out or to work on with me, they can't, or at least they haven't done anything like that before. The people who make easy positive spin partners, it's not even a problem, is the people who come in with 10 songs of something already done, or someone who comes in and has a cello arrangement album already done, or can sit there and we're going to do 10 songs of Christmas or 12 songs of cello Christmas stuff, or we're going to do a tension album, or we're going to do something like that. And they come to me as a partner with something like that already. All I have to do is get in there and work on it, like I was doing for Chip today for his Rust album and his tension album. Levi is working with me right now, and he's just got a reggaeton album done that he's or at least the starts of all of these songs. I could go artist after artist or composer after composer. But it's because we made the decision, or they made the decision, to specialize in a genre and finish 10 songs of it. And that's another problem that I think people have. It's another issue I think that people are having with getting better and coming to me and going to libraries and getting on Spotify. What happens if you go to Spotify and every song you put up onto your Spotify is completely different? People aren't going to know what to do. The people who liked your last song are not going to like your next song because it's different. You're going to say, oh, they're going to like it because I'm me and I'm awesome. Well, maybe, but if you do jazz and you do 10 jazz songs, people will know. I have that problem a little bit inside of a genre of jazz where we've done everything from kind of contemporary jazz, kind of fusion-ish, to then I did kind of a more fusion-y thing with some beats and stuff in it. Then my last album was an album of beach type music, which did fine. And again, it's in the jazz genre. It's just a subgenre of jazz. And the next one is probably going to be way more contemporary fusion again. So I am risking like alienating the people who like the old stuff or the Latin stuff or whatever. This just in, and quick aside, I just got that Welcome to Florida album, or the Latin album of Player A, signed to a library this week, so pretty cool. But I finally got it all loose from all its entanglements in Content ID and stuff like that. But that was a specialized thing. I went to the beach for about a period of 10 years and kept writing these different songs and planned them for an album, and I eventually released it in 2020. And it's done pretty well, and it's made me some money in non-exclusive licensing, and it's in another non-exclusive library now. But it's done pretty well. But it's because it's a specialized thing, and I focus that songwriting on that album. And I think that's something you've got to do, and that's why specialization, I think, is so important. If you struggle with specializing in one genre because you like to flip back and forth between this album and this kind of music and this kind of genre, then give me a thumbs up, because I know it's tough, especially when you're starting. Because, y'all, there are so many possibilities of genres, and you have so many tools at your disposal that are free or that come with your DAW, and you can just make something here and something there. Getting people to choose a lane is very, very... Getting them to make music is the first hardest thing. Getting them to choose a lane or a few major lanes that they work in is very tough. And it's very... we could all choose to just do lots of genres. But if you want to get things done, if you want to make some music income, if you want to get into libraries, if you want to release and find a fan base on Spotify and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to have to specialize in a genre and do it great. Love the Fishing Rod says, too many people trying to get into sync licensing and putting out a huge number of tracks that is already saturating the indie music industry. Well, I guess so. But you've got to put out a good number of tracks. If you don't put out a good number of tracks, especially if you can't make an album full of tracks, it's going to be tough for you to get into sync and be successful. You've got to be able to put together a 10-song album. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, they might listen to a 5-song album and they may take between 5 and 10 songs. But any library would be much happier if you walk in the door with 10 great songs that are all quality and they go, wow, I'll like plug and play. It's easy for us. It's not even a question of what they have to do. All they have to do is take those 10 songs and plug them in. So there are a lot of people trying to get into sync, trying to put their music on Spotify. The numbers are just crazy. Just like you said, it's saturated, but quality stands out. Good songs stand out. I'll never go away from that. There can be AI out the wazoo all day, but quality human-made music is always going to stand out. There are certain things that AI might dominate. Stock music, I was using it yesterday to create some stock images, and other people are going to use it to create stock music because they don't really care about the music. Fine, that's throwaway stuff. Who cares? But it's not going to saturate the concert music industry. There's lots of artists. There's always been lots of artists. It's a different day in the independent worlds in the 25 years since independent music has really seen its heyday, as the labels are not everywhere. There's lots of indies saturating all the places. But again, I think that you've got to make the music and you've got to specialize before you can do that. Shane Jensen in the house. Make the music you love to listen to. Cool. My latest piano album just dropped today. Congratulations, Shane. Shane makes some great piano music. But the key is to finish and release music. That's what today's video is all about. And this podcast is all about today, is how to finish and release. Well, we're not going to get into the release part, but we're going to be talking about how to make and finish. What are some of the things that can help you make better music? And that's what I want to talk about today. Let's talk about another, number 3. And this is going to throw you for a loop. But my friends, you have to make more than one loop to make a song. I told you that there are some basic problems that I see every time that I get new music from people. And this includes people that I work with making music for Sync and in my Positive Partners program. They make 1 4 or 8 bar loop and or a section, and then they just repeat it for 2 minutes. And I know that's a thing, especially with hip hop. I know it's a thing. But I'm telling you, it's a boring thing. It's not something that's going to ultimately help you make a lot of money. And even if it does, maybe you're not with the right people. But y'all need to learn how to make a B section. It was one of the hardest things to teach when I was teaching music. It was one of the hardest things to teach because people just wanted to create. Once they got that first loop made, they were like, I am a genius. This loop is gold. I'm just going to repeat it. And then they might get the news that they might need to add some stuff on future repeats. But for the most part, if you listen to most rap, it's just one loop. And sometimes they don't even add anything to it, or they might just add some singing during a section of it. That's the chorus. That's the B section. And I'm telling you, if you want to be respected in music circles, you want people to listen to your music and think there is some quality, there is some depth to this person as a composer, as a writer, change your freaking section. Move to another chord, for goodness sake. I'm working on some music with Mark Rushton, and it is all in his ambient, and it is one chord through the whole thing. I understand the reason for that. It's supposed to be very it's supposed to be music that doesn't make you think. It's in the background, that puts you in a mood, that doesn't change. Inside that chord, there's a lot of stuff and motion going on with different sounds and different things like that. We just did a whole album of that. And I played piano over that and did some kind of very obtuse piano playing inside that, trying to make it melodic and do some things. Whenever I find a style that I think is very limiting, like ambient or one chord ambient, one chord hip hop, one chord anything, or classical things like serial music, 12-tone music, I try to take it and make it melodic, and make it my own. But in general, folks, you got to change chords. You got to change chords at some time in the song. Or if you've been doing this one chord thing, it's the same with worship music. Don't get me started in church where they just sing the same chorus over and over and over and over 20 times. And you're like, okay, I get it. Now, there are some people who really like that. I can't find any who will say they like it. But apparently they like it because there are people who just sit there and hold their hand up and are in the spirit or whatever. But musicians, unless you're using dynamics to grow it somehow, or you're continually adding things, but still, I think one of the things you've got to learn, I would be surprised if people in the chat don't get a little mad at this, because I know lots of my students did. They're like, you're just old school. You're just trying to create stuff that's old. New stuff doesn't do that. BS. Poppycock. I'm going to pull out the cursing here. Boulder Dash. How do you like that? I think you've got to get off your loop and make a new loop, or go to another chord. I just had to do that with one of my partners. He hasn't heard it yet. Wolfgang, I'm sorry, but I had to change chords in one of the songs that we're working on. And we're working on a sports album, and it just gets too monotonous. And I see this a lot. And I don't know what else to say about it. Move from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, or to the 5 chord, or to a 6 minor, or to a 3 minor, or to a 2 minor. Got lots of choices. And if you don't know what that means, maybe, just maybe, you need to think about doing some minor music theory work. Learn a little bit about music theory and how it works and what 1-4-5 even means. Raise your hand if you know what 1-4-5 means. If I say the words 1-4-5, what does that mean? Well, I'm talking about in the key of C, playing a C chord, playing an F chord, and playing a G chord. That's what I'm talking about. And this video is not going to get inside that kind of stuff today. But maybe in the future, and if you do like that kind of thing, and you'd like to see that kind of thing, give this video a thumbs up or tell me in the comments if you'd like to get more composing, songwriting videos where I actually talk about the process of how I write. I've done that a little bit on the Hello Composers channel, but I barely have time for one channel, much less 2. So this more than one loop thing could go on, and I'm probably looping a little too much on this more than one loop section. But it's all about making a change in the song sonically, and not just with volume, and not just with more instruments, but with some new dang chords and sections. Shane Jensen says, it's very difficult to improve your music if you never get feedback. Yeah, we're going to get to that in the next section a little bit. That's part of the next section. Don't live in a vacuum. Show your music to as many people as possible. How important do you think is finding a mentor? Mentors are huge, and that's part of my Positive Spin Partners program or my coaching. But listen, I found several mentors throughout my time. One was in Nashville, one was in the area where I was. They were both producers. They were both in the business and active, and they would challenge me. They would tell me when I was doing the wrong thing. I remember my producing mentor, I told him I didn't want to sit at a keyboard all day with some client that was telling me how to make some bad music. And he's like, well, you can do that, or you can go down the street and at the tire place, they need somebody who can change tires all day. You could go do that for money, or you could sit here and play the keyboard for money in this nice, comfy room with air conditioning and play music all day. I've had people in Nashville tell me it is not the time to bring your business here yet. It's just not a time in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, they said, it's time. So, and I've had music mentors who have said, this song is good, except, you're doing a lot of this or you're doing this kind of thing. Really, my songs I did take a lot of songs down to Nashville to people. They weren't mentors, but they told me when I was writing songs that didn't make sense for the kind of music they were looking for as publishers. So you're going to find that too when you are going to libraries and different things. Melodic Picture says too much genres is not good, but I think that to concentrate on only one is also not the best idea. Well, I think it is, and he goes on to say, maybe it makes sense to choose carefully some reasonable number of genres. They may be eclectic, but stylistic borders should be optimal. Well, I don't care how many genres you choose. I still think it should probably be a few. When you're getting started, once you're in tons of libraries, then come back to me with as many genres as you want, and you can get them in libraries, then that's a different conversation. Right now, we're talking about how to improve your music. How can you even get better at your music if you're all over the place and you're not completing more than one song in a genre? You're not going to have, most people watching this want to know how to have some success in licensing or how to have success on Spotify and find following. Well, you're not going to find it if you don't really have any consistency in your music. And I think genres are that. Lovely Fishing Rod says, do you make music based on trends or do you stick to a specific genre? I probably just stick to the genres that, well, I do it a little bit differently because I am always coming up with writing new songs, and then I'll say, but I don't just write songs, I write albums. So when I think of a song, a case in point, one of my artists sent me a song called Feeling Good. I said, and it was a good song. I said, let's do that. And let's do a whole album of feeling good songs. Those are very popular with, as far as trends, with sync licensing. They always have been. They always have been popular in general. Everyone likes feeling good songs. Back to, what was that song? Feeling Happy? Happy by, it's always been a good subject to write happy music. But so is Christmas, so is Halloween, so is patriotic, lots of different things that are helpful. And the trend in 6 months, when it's Christmas time, the trend is going to be Christmas music. Everybody's going to want Christmas music. So we're working on 3 Christmas albums right now, trying to get them out and ready for the Christmas season. So in some ways, that is a trend. And I think music briefs you could also say, are a trend. What if you do a certain couple of genres, but then a brief comes in for this one thing? You're like, I could try it. This is why I hate briefs, because they come in, and I best heard it described as interrupters. They interrupt your day. If you've got briefs that you get by email, and I'm sitting here working on an album, and I'm just about to finish a mix, and this brief comes in. We need this song in 4 hours. And I look, and I just like a mouse seeing cheese, I go to that and say, but maybe there's a chance I have something. And it takes me 15 minutes and it interrupts my flow. It's just an interrupter. It's why you shouldn't look at your email, but once an hour or once a morning or once in the afternoon. I'm not very good at that because a lot of clients, I have so many clients and they all communicate via email. Tim says, best thing I ever did was take music theory and musicianship in college. And yeah, I kind of glossed over music theory when I was young. When I was 16, 17, 18, music theory was something I knew existed and I had to deal with, almost like you have to deal with puberty and you have to deal with tests and all that kind of stuff. I thought of music theory as just another test and another piece of school that I didn't want to do. And I didn't do it. But when I went through music theory this time, in my 50s, when I was doing my master's, I was eating it up. I was also working on my composition master's, and that was just so much fun. None of that was like work to me. It was all fun. Well, not all of it. It wasn't all fun. Some of it was hard. But orchestration, was lots of fun. All right. So we've talked about you got to make music first. You got to specialize in a genre or genres. I'll allow multiple genres as long as you will finish the songs and finish albums in those genres. And then you've got to give me more than one loop that lasts the whole thing. But the third thing you've got to do, and I think this is so important, that we need a clip.
Hey, let's do Get Help.
What?
Get Help.
No.
Come on, you love it.
I hate it.
It's great. It works every time.
It's humiliating.
Do you have a better plan?
No.
We're doing it.
We are not doing Get Help.
Get Help!
I love that clip. And it goes along with something that I talk about a lot on this channel. And I think it's only because I know it's true. I've made my whole career based on getting help. Not just career from clients, but career from getting better quality myself, becoming a better songwriter. All of that came from actually getting help from someone. Let's see, how far back does that go? My brother became a drummer, and then I had a drummer all the time. And then my best friend was a bass player, and I was in band, and I had friends from there, and we started bands and different things like that. And then eventually I found better and better players in my local area. I found studios in my local area. And then finally the online happened, and I started finding people online. And then, of course, the entire biggest thing that ever happened to me is I got some inroads into Nashville, and then moved to Nashville, and then got the help of all of those amazing musicians, amazing co-writers, amazing singers and engineers and studios, and all those places that gave me help making the music that ended up being, and is now, and still is, my way that I am making music income. And that is, I got help, and I'm still getting help. I've got, just today, last night, yesterday, I'm getting help from a guitar player and a mandolin, and got drums back the other day, and I'm getting vocals today, downloading vocals so I can mix a song today of stuff that was recorded in Nashville with great players. You have to get help to move to that next level. So let's talk about some easy ways for you to get help right away. And the first one that I think of as a songwriter would be probably YouTube channels like this one, like what we're talking about today. This is help. You're getting help today, whether you want it or not, whether you're here or not, whether you decide to click on this video or not. Those of you who did, good on you, because you're especially if you are just starting out, or you're in a place where you're not having the success you wanted to, or your music is not, raise your hand if your music's not up anywhere. Raise your hand if you've never put a song on Spotify, or you've never put a song out to a library, or even ventured towards a publisher of any kind. This is for you, but this is also for those of you who have done a little bit of that, who have made quite a bit of music. Give me a thumbs up if this is you, that you just got to get to that next level of finding real success. And listen, I was there for 20 years, from my teen years to my 30s, probably, maybe even into my 40s, where my work was never heard the way I wanted it to be heard. It was not heard by anyone of importance, and that person said, I'll take it, right? My first song I got on an album was in my late 30s, mid to late 30s, and that was like my biggest dream, was that one of my songs that I'd written would be on somebody's record. And another co-writer and writer in Nashville, he was producing someone's album, and he took one of my songs and put it first on this guy's album, and the guy used my song. At that point, I felt like I had made it. I was, the whole thing about, if I die, will anybody ever have known I made music? If that is a thing that you struggle with, give me a thumbs up, because I know it was something for me that I felt like, if I die, no one will ever know that I made music. And then when I got that first song on an album, that was like, now I can rest in peace. And now, as it turns out, I got about thousands more of songs on albums because I then kind of transitioned into being a music producer, and it all became about putting songs on people's albums every day, and still is. But that was the help I got. And you have the ability to watch channels like this, channels like 52Qs with Dave Croft, channels like Clint Music, channels like Jameson Nathan Jones. Sorry. Jameson Nathan Jones, who is a composer and talks a lot about composing things. And there are other people who talk about composing on a higher stage, and there are people who talk about making beats and beat stars and stuff like that. And some of them get into how to actually make stuff. Many of the channels, like Joe Gilder and people like that, talk about more technical things really than songwriting. But there is help out there, and it's free. It's on YouTube. You're watching it right now, and there is more out there if you want to go get it. So that's the first thing. Get help from YouTube. That's the first place you can get it from. Just do a search on YouTube about what you want to do. If it's make better music, I just did a search, and there's many channels, and that's what today's video is all about. In a minute, or probably now, when you search how to improve my music, you'll probably see this video because it's a focused video on that. But you've got to get help. Another great place to get help that kind of goes along with video, although he's not making as many videos right now because he's busy, is my friend and former co-host of the Make Music Income podcast, Mr. Stephen Bedall. And he has the Production Music Academy. If you're trying to figure out a certain genre, how to make it, he's got some great courses for that. He's not paying me anything for this, but you can if you'd like, Steve. But you can check that out, and you can check out lots of courses that teach you how to better make music. So that's the first way to get help. And then the second way to get help is work with specific people, like a producer like me, or a co-writer like me, or somebody who does that for a living. That's all I do. Even Steve, even other people, even Steven, even Dave, they don't necessarily work for people writing music. I mean, that they do, but that's not their main thing, is producing other people. They end up doing that for clients. But my specific background for the last 30 years, since the mid-90s, has been helping other people make music. Is it the first thing I want to do? No, but it's just what I do. It's kind of like, we all have jobs, and we just got jobs. And so that's been what I've been doing, is helping people make music for years. Let me tell you a little bit about what getting help does for your music and why it improves your music. Number one, it adds dimension. And you might be thinking, why do I need dimension to my music? Well, all of us, if we sit on a DAW and we make a loop or a song or a beat, as the hip hop people might say, and we do it all by ourselves, it is just that. It's just that one-dimensional brain, that one brain thinking of all the things. And it may sound great. There's not a problem with that. The problem with that is just as somebody said earlier in the chat, there is 1 million people making music, just saturating the industry. 1 million people sitting there making their one loop things that they made all by themselves with nobody else. And now AI is doing it too. It's doing its own thing. But by getting help, one of the things you do is add dimension by adding one person, even if it's just me or if it's just one other co-writer or co-partner who plays an instrument or whatever. You've probably seen this happen when you've played live with someone or you've worked with someone on SoundBetter or Fiverr or something. You've seen your music kind of blossom, or the sound itself. Sometimes it blossoms in the wrong way. But if it works great, you see it take on a different kind of dimension. I keep using that word, but it's just adding more to what's there. And when I started doing that, first in Kentucky and where I was from in the studios, and then later in Nashville, it's been the key to my career. it's literally the key to my career. The fact that I can offer all the different people, and now with all the partners I have, and I can offer different partners to each other. Through this video channel, I can offer different partners, and new partners are coming in all the time. This is the biggest part. It takes you from being just you to being you plus, ukulele plus. Ukulele plus, in a lot of ways, she will tell you, is her ukulele plus her singing, plus songs, plus some friends, some musician friends, plus me now, plus different musicians that play for me. You've got to have that plus. And I think that is by getting help and getting someone who can help you. The second thing that really I think it offers you is a next level of quality. And it's quality that maybe you can't get yourself for whatever reason. It's not that you're not able to create quality. Hey, listen, everybody's got free mastering now on their DAWs, and everybody's got AI tools that do this and that and the other thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone else to bounce ideas off of, someone to help the quality get to the next level, someone to play the guitar because you don't really play guitar. That sounds more original and better than a guitar in your software. Someone to sing because you're not really a singer, and being able to be big enough to say, I can let other people speak into my music. That's a quality thing, but it's also a maturity thing. And maturity is another thing I'm talking about here today in your music. How do you get more mature in your music so that when libraries hear that, they go, this is not some amateur here. This is a professional who is not afraid to work with others, who is not afraid to get help, who has learned and is still learning and is growing and is quality and stands out in their genre and in their field as a musician. And then I think the final thing that getting help does for many of you, and it does, and I know for me this is the case, it helps us finish. How many of you have tons of songs started but don't have them finished? How many have over 10 songs like that you've started, not finished? How about 50? How about 100? How about 1,000? Probably me. That is me. If you have songs right now and you're in this chat, you're one of the 17 people in here, I want you to reach out to your like button if you have songs that are unfinished because you just ain't finishing them. For whatever reason, you're not finishing them because ... I mean, there's lots of reasons. It's sitting there because I'm waiting for this. It's sitting there because I'm waiting for that. Well, this is where getting help is the biggest issue. This is where and how and why I have to now transition into talking about partners and why this has turned into such a different company and a different channel than it was before. Before, I was talking about how I made money. Before, I was telling you how I made $600 a month with stock licensing. We talked about how that's turned out last week. I talked about my sync adventure and what I was trying to do with sync and me. Positive Spin Songs, though, is the maturity of me and a lot of the people that are partners because they got help, because they are now having this dimension to their music they never had, because of the quality level that we're at, because of the finishing. And besides finishing, how many people have lots of songs, but you haven't gotten them to the place that they need to be? You may have even finished them. You may have got them finished, but you haven't pitched them yet because you don't know how. You don't know who to pitch them to, all that kind of stuff. Well, this is all where this channel has changed. I could change this whole channel to be called Positive Spin Partners because it's all about us partnering together. It's all about us working together. Every day I'm answering emails from people who are saying, I might like to partner with you. I might like to work with you because I need somebody who can help me finish. I need somebody who can help me get better quality. I need somebody who can show me when the song is lagging and it needs to change chords or the arrangement. I just sent a young man today a very good song with a very good voice, and he needed it. The song was just, he was interested in maybe getting it to sync, and I had to really do some surgery to it to get it to a place where it would work because it was almost a 4-minute song and it needed to be shorter. It needed to be better. So this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Positive Spin Partners is the way that it's just become my entire push. It's in similar ways to other channels that are maybe, I know my friend Dave, he's moving a little bit more into the publisher side of things, which is similar to what I'm doing, but I'm really looking for music making partners for me to make music with. He's looking for great songs that he can publish and pitch. Stevie B is also transitioning. He's gone from teaching people to being too busy to teach people because of all the work that he has. Almost everybody who has a YouTube channel is fighting to keep the YouTube channel going because making the music and doing the YouTube channel at the same time is hard. Tim says, if you're going to be making loops, you should be in the loop business. Yeah, and they better be amazing loops. Well, there's nothing wrong with loops. I use loops every day. It's just the fact that chordally, melodically, song arrangement-wise, there needs to be things that change. And I think sometimes they're not changing. Speaking of someone who doesn't change, who does not have problems with arranging, Shane Jen says, I don't typically use loops, but I do heavily use form. And that's probably what I was trying to say in my caveman way a little while ago about getting out of the loop thing, is form, ABA. If you don't know what ABA means, again, might want to study some music theory, some basic music theory, but A would be like the verse, and B would be like a second section, and A would be back to the verse again, kind of like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, where you have the da 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 da, you have that melody, and then it goes da 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 da, and that's the B part, and then it comes back to the Somewhere Over the Rainbow part again. Or there's other examples of that. Or there's another style, ABAB, which is basically just verse, chorus, verse, chorus. There's lots of these kind of things, but those are the main ones. And like he says, you have to give some form of variety to keep the listeners engaged. And that was my point with the whole loop thing. And so that will help you as you write. Think about that. Think on these things, as the good book says. But you have to be thinking about the listener. And they're not just going to be jamming to your loop the whole time, especially if it's a library who is listening to 1,000 things of music and fighting off AI. You better be writing something original, and you better be using some form. Oliver Mack says, I'm creating songs for sync with a singer friend for the first time. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And isn't that making it different, Oliver? Isn't that kind of taking it to a new level than it was before? Level Fishing Rod, you seem to ask me this a lot. Have I used BeatStars? I have used BeatStars. I just don't and won't probably because, and I know I don't have much control over what people choose to do with my music and what scene they use it in with sync either. But there's just too much nastiness going on in rap for me to risk a rapper taking one of my beats that I've made and using it with some terrible language and for really nefarious reasons. And so can't do that. Sorry. Miss Reynolds says, hello, Eric. Haven't popped in a while. Husband's not been making music as much. What do you call it when the creative juices aren't flowing? Well, his aren't flowing lately. He's been busy working. Yeah, this is another problem. And it goes back to the make music issue, to this, you've got to make music in the first place. And it's very difficult sometimes. Sometimes you just don't feel it. And it's not that you are not putting the time in. You're not sitting down at the computer or the piano or whatever. It's just for whatever reason, you don't feel it. And guess what? That's okay. That's okay. Especially if you've already made a lot. You can take breaks. You can take hiatus. You can let it just put it on standby for a little while. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can absolutely do that. I find it's best to go off and do something else until the creative juices start flowing. For me, they're overflowing right now. I have to run into little rooms and record songs into my phone that I've just written lyrics for, so I won't forget them right now. It's one of those times when songs are just overflowing. But when they're not, and I certainly get it. I just want to say thanks for being here. I hope that this has been helpful to you today. And I'm glad that you were with me on this podcast. It's a little bit of a long one, but I think it's an important one for how to improve making music. And what I've talked about is not even that hugely technical. It's kind of more big picture. But I think if you really delve back into these 4 things of making music, specializing in a genre or two, putting some form into your music where you're changing chords and you're doing a B section and you're doing something more than just one loop all the way through. I know that's easy at first and that's kind of a beginning step, but you've got to do that. And then getting help. And if you are really struggling for how to get help, just go to positivespinsongs.com/partner. See if that's interesting to you. Email me at positivespinsongs@gmail.com. Go to the site, listen to our music, listen to the quality we're doing. If that's interesting to you and you'd like to be part of that, then I'd love to have you be part of it. All right, everybody, that's all the time I have. It's back to creating music for me today. And I hope you have a great day. And I hope this has been helpful for you today. And we will see you next time on the Make Music Income podcast. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.